21 says we have a mat around a picture shown that measures X inches across. So they're talking about the mat. The mat is X inches across. So this is the picture, this is the mat around it. Which of the following equations says that the area of the picture itself is 700 square inches? Remember, the picture is the inner part of it, so which would express this part is 700 square inches? We know that this is a rectangle, so if we could express its length and its width, we would say length times width has to equal 700 inches. But now listen, you don't know this length. You know the outside dimensions of 43 by 32. So what you've done to get this picture itself is you have to come in X on each side. So this actual length of the picture is 43 minus X, or 43 minus 2X. For the width of the picture itself, same argument, 32 is the outer dimensions plus the mat on it, so we want just the picture. 32 minus X that way, minus X that way, taking off the mat to just get back to the picture is 32 minus 2X inches there. So this length times this width, or whichever way you want to consider it, oriented, but these two, length times width, needs to equal 700. Did not ask us to work that out, but just to specify which equation expresses the area of the picture. And that could be in a different order. 43 minus 2X, I think they listed that one first. All right, so that is A. Okay, number 22, the height of a box is 5 inches. The length is 3 inches more than the width. Find the width if the volume is 350. So a lot of times if you read through your problem all the way, you'll find that there was some formula or something that you needed to use from geometry. Here we're talking about a box and volume. So you need to know the volume of a box is length times width times height. It tells you straight out a couple of these things. It says the volume is 350 cubic inches. And it tells you that the height is 5, so that's straight out. But it doesn't tell you about the length and the width. There has to be some algebra for you to do, right? So something has to be unknown, and it gives you a clue that the length is 3 more than the width. So we let the width be the unknown, the basic unknown that they build on, and then the length is that plus 3. So length was the clue, is 3 more than whatever the width is, and the height was straight out 5, and the volume was given as 350. One thing, because these are all multiplied together, you are allowed to divide by 5 if it looks like it will make it reduce well, not make a fraction. I would probably do that. So dividing by 5 makes that just 70. And another thing that kind of seems odd to us is we're used to seeing the W probably in front of the W plus 3. It doesn't matter really, since it is multiplication, it can be in front or back, but it looks a little odd to us maybe. But then that will need to be distributed, so it'll be 70 equals W squared and 3W. Okay, then standard form. As soon as you see it is quadratic, you've got a square term. You want to get it in standard form, so we bring the 70 over to the side so it's equal to 0. So 0 equals W squared 3W minus 70. And then you can solve that. If you really like that formula better, just always use the formula, that's fine. But this will factor. It's W plus 10 and 7, right? W plus 10, W minus 7 does work. It gives you a 3W, 10W minus 7, 3W you needed in the middle. Set each part equal to 0 and solve each part. You get a negative answer for one side of one of the factors, so we can't have a negative width, making the only solution that the width is 7. Now this is another one of those cases where you want to be real careful. It doesn't really happen to be kind of a trick on this one or anything. The answer is kind of how you just naturally solved it. But what if they had said, what is the length of this box? You just need to be careful about that. The length would be the width plus 3. The length would have been 10 inches. But it did ask you name the width, which is what we let W be anyway. So 7 is the final answer. Answer B. Okay, number 23. two cars leave an intersection, one is traveling north and the other is traveling east. So what's happening here is it's going to make a right triangle type problem. It's going to be one of those Pythagorean theorem problems. So we've got the car going due north and due east, so it should be making a nice right angle. When the car going north had gone 18 miles, that distance is given, 18 miles. The distance between the car, which would be that diagonal distance, this distance is 6 more than the east distance. So when you read those, a lot of times there's something they don't tell you anything about. That's what you let be your x. Your basic unknown was the east difference. They do tell us that the distance between the cars, that diagonal distance, is east plus 6. And then to solve it, we've got to put that in the Pythagorean theorem. Side squared plus side squared equals hypotenuse squared. It doesn't matter which one you put first. So I'll say x squared plus 18 squared equals the hypotenuse x plus 6 squared. Now remember, a real important principle we've been seeing in the last couple of chapters is that squaring and square rooting are not distributive. The multiplication is distributive. If you times both sides by something or divide by something, but you cannot just square root each piece. Or Pythagorean theorem would say a plus b equals c, and it doesn't. So it's not what the formula says. So anyway, we can't individually square root those. What we actually have to do, and I don't have this number if somebody wants to square 18 for me, and then FOIL the binomial out. So they have 18 squared? 324. Okay, so it looks like it's going to be a quadratic equation because I've got x squared and another x squared, but actually they drop out. When you get those together, they're equal things on each side, so they just drop out. And it's no longer a quadratic, which gives us a little break. That's good. And then I can just solve the linear equation by bringing the 36 across and dividing by 12. X equals 288 divided by 12. Somebody have that? 24? Okay. And 24 is the question asked. How far had the east car driven? If it said how far is the distance between the cars, which is a fair question, just make sure you're paying attention to that. It would have been 24 plus 6, 30. All right, but our answer was the 24, answer B.